it. Cheers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's Thursday night. It's my favourite part of the week, I'll be honest with you, because it's Mike Brewer Live, and you're all welcome to come and join in with this conversation that I'm going to be having with one of the greatest and well-known actors in British television. You know him and love him as Steve McDonald. We become friends a few years ago, and we were brought together by one single love, and that's our love of cars. So I want you to all clap, cheer, go mad for the one and only Mr. Simon Gregson. Simon, welcome. Woohoo!
Hello.
How are you, buddy?
How are you, bud? I'm good, man. Are you?
Very good. Yes, not bad at all. Lots of very excited people out there today with the thought of you coming on to my live show. People are saying, I'm just knocking the guests out of the park. I had Frank Stephenson, Jason Plato, Jimmy DeVille, Ant, Elvis. And now I've got you, and this is like this is the highlight of the week for me, having you to chat to. Have you got yourself a drink? Of course, you've got yourself a drink. Chin, chin. Cheers to you. So let's start this off very, very simply. I want to know straight from the off your love of cars. Where's it come from?
Oh wow! Well, you see, as soon as I could push a car across the carpet. I was hooked. I remember a mate of mine had this great collection of little Matchbox cars, and he had some fabulous things. And I just used to love pushing them around the carpet. And then, of course, you got that mat, didn't you, in the 80s? With all the roads on and stuff. And I was just on it all day, and it just went from there. The older I got, the bigger the toys got. That was it, really.
Fantastic. So you were a little lad, just obsessed with cars, pushing around that bit of. I had that track. I think I can't remember. Was it Matchbox that actually made that? I think it was, wasn't it?
I think it probably was. Yeah, we had it as a carpet in the nursery for our littlest.
I remember because I built a Lego garage as well, and I built a Lego petrol station on that mat, and I used to push the cars around. I'm talking when I was 20, by the way. I don't know about you.
This was yesterday, wasn't it, mate?
This was when I was 20. I was doing that. No, so that's brilliant. So you were car obsessed as a kid?
Oh yeah, loved cars. I remember one of my earliest memories, because we all had. Well, everybody had a BMX.
Yeah,
of course. But because we didn't, we didn't have that kind of money. So I had a striker, basically scaffolding on wheels. Yeah. And there was a kid around the corner whose dad must have been some kind of engineer, and he had made a pedal car, really quick, great big wheels, steering wheel. I was in love with it, and I used to go around and knock on the door. Can I borrow it? I was on it for forever. I loved it. The minute I could get behind the wheel of a car. Which I did with my dad's when we were on holiday quite often. I just couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. When I passed my test when I was 17, I had 4 lessons, passed my test, and I was off. I was gone.
Wow, that must be some kind of record. I've never known anyone have 4 lessons and passed their driving test first time.
I was forever in the arcades. If I could find an arcade with a driving machine, I'd be on it, especially when they brought the ones out with the gears and there was a clutch, and I couldn't wait to get on the road.
That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So what was your very first car then? Everyone can remember their first car and the registration number.
It was a Suzuki SJ413. It was in metallic blue. It had these huge off-road wheel, but pepper pot alloys that were massive. It had the surf bars from front to rear. Had like this chrome thing down the side with like Suzuki ghosted in it. And it was my pride and joy. I remember it was an F-Reg. Can't remember the registration.
You can't remember the registration?
No,
and by
then... F564 something.
Be nice to know if it's still out there.
You know what? I was thinking, because somebody said to me ages ago, and I looked for it, so I must have heard him wrong, that there was some kind of app or something like Facebook or something like that, where if you put the registration in, it'll tell you where it is now.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I was like, I need to find it. I want it. It's probably been off-roaded now and dead somewhere.
Well, I mean, they're very durable and long-lasting cars, little SJ Suzuki's. Great little cars. Probably the worst ever Wheeler Dealers episode ever. is the SJ410. It was a hideous little one that I
Did you spray it green? You painted it green, didn't you?
No, I think we painted it grey and gave it to a farmer's son in the end because we couldn't MOT it. It was that bad. It was awful.
Like a pebbled stone chip paint you did on it or something?
So, yes, I do believe so. It's a long time ago now, Si. You are going back like 18 years, which is a long time.
Totally,
ago.
But I'm like the show's biggest fan. I'm the guy that watches all the repeats constantly. Emma goes mad. You've seen this one? I said, well, I'm watching it. I might have missed something.
I want to watch it again. Well, saying that, by the time you had your SJ410, which you were 17, you were already 2 years into your career on the street.
Yeah, true. Yeah, 1989 I joined.
89. So you've been on the street now and then for 31 years. Oh, you disappeared. Hello? Did you touch something?
No.
Oh, no, you disappeared. You'll probably bounce back in a minute. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because this happened to Frank Stephenson. I'm just going to throw a car up on screen, and it's a car because I'm going to talk quickly about what happened during this pandemic, because you were affected by coronavirus. You had some loss in the family, rather sadly, and then it happened to you as well.
A lot of the family got coronavirus. Unfortunately, Emma's grandma, Mrs. H, she was rushed to hospital, and it was confirmed she had the virus, and sadly she passed away. And then it kind of came through the family then. So Emma had it quite bad, and I had it for a while, and now we're all okay.
Well, it's
so
great to
lucky,
see
really.
It's great to see you're on the road to full health. And because of what happened to you, I know that you were really touched by the support from the NHS and by the doctors, not only with your family, but what happened all over the country. And you did something rather amazing. You gave away one of your lovely classic cars and classic motorbikes.
Yeah. It's been a labour of love for a while. It's a Triumph 1300 front wheel drive, 1968, and it was in really good nick. Actually, make sure I'm not coming out of this camera. It was in really good nick, apart from a bit of welding that needed doing underneath, and that was that. So I was spending on it, and titivating it and what have you. And I was just looking at it one day, and I thought, you know what? Someone who's in work all the time, dealing with this massive pandemic, must be really frightening for everyone involved, would deserve something like this at the weekend, a bit of downtime. There's bound to be someone in the NHS who's into cars and bikes. So I put it on Twitter, and it was the first come, first serve thing.
Fantastic. That's absolutely lovely. And the motorcycle, which is rather special because it's got a rather tasty number plate. It's a 1955 Francis Barnett Kestrel. What a great name for a bike. I'd like to have been in that meeting. When they're in that meeting and they sit down and they go, so what are we going to call this one, Jeff? And they go, I don't know. What do you think? What do you? I like Barnetts. And what about you? I like Francis. And what about you? Well, I really like Kestrels. I don't know. Let's just call it.
I think they were all named after birds, because I know the bigger one was a falcon. So
was it really?
Yeah.
Was it really? See, so that one had a really special bike, 1955, very sought after, and it went to
they only made them for a year.
Profession.
Yeah, the registration was TTT at the beginning.
Brilliant.
So perfect for Alaman, of course, the classics.
Yeah.
So the fella who got it works in ICU. He was a lovely fella, and he's doing it up with his daughter.
Lovely.
Yeah. So there's a lot of mental health issues in junior doctors. So he wanted to start a bike like a bike club going, so they could just get around chatting and everything. So he said, you know what? Not only have you done a nice thing, you've kick-started this bike club again. So everything for a reason, Mike.
Yeah. Absolutely, Brent. Such a lovely thing for you to do, Si. It's such a wonderful thing to do. We put ourselves in these privileged positions and a position of notoriety, and if you can give something back, it goes a long way. And to give up that lovely little Triumph and that motorbike, to put smiles on other people's faces, bravo to you. It's a bloody
cheers, mate.
Lots of people are pouring on to the feed now. You can see it pop on screen. Davina Morris says, you're absolutely amazing. She loves you. I've got Val. It's hard to choose one out. Richard Morley, this guy here, Ian Burrows. He said my son's got a 1979 Dolomite Dog Poo Brown. Chloe
Was
Webster.
it always that colour, or is there,
yes,
an issue at home?
Or not? Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. So, what was your let's go through some of your cars. I've got a few of them here that we can throw up on screen. What's one of the? Because you've had an amazing sort of not car collection. You've just jumped out of one car and into another car and into another car. And
yeah, I mean, sometimes I just ran the one car. Other times I'd have like 6 on the go at once. I just go through phases, you know. If I see something I like, I'm like, right. I mean, your show's a lot to blame for this, because when I see you doing something up, I'm straight on eBay, see if there is one. True story. And I just love driving different things. You know, they don't have to be massively expensive. They don't have to be, you know, a particularly special mark in any way. I just like driving different things. It's just the whole driving pleasure. So whatever it is, I'll go. I wouldn't mind a bit of a go in one of them.
Well, you've got some we're going to pull up a few on screen. Some of them are very humble. Some of them are very, very tasty. And some of them are really rather nice. A very humble car is this. It's a little MX-5.
Yeah, the MX-5. I hadn't had a convertible since. I used to have a Westfield that I used to go... used to do a lot of track work with you might know him actually, a guy called Callum Lockie, who runs the Gold Track.
Yeah.
So I used to go down with their club, and I hadn't had a convertible since then. So I didn't want to spend much money on anything. And my mate, who's a car dealer, had that in 500 quid.
No way.
So I thought 1.6, they go like the clappers, but you're still under the speed limit, but you think you're doing 150 mile an hour. And I spent more money on it than on the interior and bits. I put the Nardi wheel in it and the Nardi gear shifter, and I put all new wishbones in it and this lowered springs and all that kind of thing. It was the most fun. I had the Mustang on the drive, an XKR, the proper shape XKR 2004. A Discovery at the time, and that was the car I chose, rain or shine. Just puts a smile on your face.
It does put a smile on your face. I don't know if you know this about me, but at one time in my past, I had the world's single biggest collection of Mazda MX-5s.
Oh, is that right?
All Mark 1s. I bought 40 of them.
No way.
Not 14, 40 Mark 1 Mazda MX-5s, all 1989, 1990. I bought them for a job with Mazda. I gave them all to Mazda and they done the job with them, and then I got them all back again. So I had this amazing sort of car collection of MX-5s, and I truly and utterly fell in love with them. They're just such a wicked, brilliant little car.
They're just so fun, you know. And I love, one of the things I love was that little bump in the bonnet. That low, and it's great driving position. And like I said, you can throw it around and rev it right up, and you're not doing silly speeds in it.
It's the best British sports car made in Japan.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely.
That's exactly what it is. So that's a good one. I like the fact that you've had an MX-5. Now, I know a lot of car fans out there are going to be thinking, surely he drives around in a Rolls-Royce Phantom or a Rolls-Royce Dawn. He's this guy on the TV every week. But no. Very humble chap, got a very humble car obsession, and that has grounded you perfectly. In fact, a lot of people here, somebody saying, I saw you, I'll put this up, Will Hopwood. Once saw Simon in a nightclub in Harrogate, couldn't really see him because there was a crowd of girls around him. Those were the days.
Obviously, before I was married and a lot thinner.
Exactly. Love the MX-5s, especially the one we did on Wheeler Dealers. Glad to see you've recovered from the virus. That's from Chris Wynn. Actually, Chris, you would have met Chris, but not known it. Chris is the photographer at the NEC, so who took our Chris, who took our pictures at the back of the stage. We've got lots of our friends joining us. You know, Nathan Bovington. Also, don't forget Doreen. Remember Doreen and Roger?
Oh, Doreen, your mummy, Doreen.
Yes.
Hello, Doreen. I believe you've not been too clever, but I believe you're on the mend.
She will be absolutely beside herself. You just done that, honestly. my brothers and sisters and my mum will just be beside themselves. That's very nice of you. No, mum's not been very
Brewers.
well. Dad Roger has been looking after mum. He's a carer, and he's been looking after her. And,
good man, Rog.
She's an absolute super fan. She's loved you for 31 years. Like you're like a member of the family. You're like one of us.
Oh, good. Well, set me a bedroom up. I'll pop in.
Yeah, anytime, mate. You know what? You've always got a room in Brewer Towers. So let's move on to the next car. Let me just get rid of that MX-5 because we spoke about it. This next one's again. This shows you. This is going to let the audience out there know that you're a proper car nut, because this is just one of my all-time favorites. I'll go full screen with it just for a second. Look at that. The red.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, what had come out of it? That I used to have a Saab 900 turbo convertible.
Yeah.
Black with the factory kit. I loved it. Anyway, it got stolen, and I wanted something to replace it. And I remember going down to a garage, and they had a few of these in, and I fell in love with it. I took it for a drive. I loved the interior. I loved the way it drove. I just loved the whole thing. Right, noisy thing as well. It was nice.
Did it overheat? It always overheated.
Yeah, well, the problem with ours was that the perk fan kept going on and off, and it would evaporate its fuel, and you couldn't get the thing started again. Yeah, because them Solex carbs were garbage.
Yeah, absolute rubbish. They still. There's still a lot of cars out there with Solexes on them and in other makes of car. And I had one of those, and it just overheated. Didn't matter what you did to it. You could literally be driving it at -5 in a snowstorm, and it would still somehow overheat. It just
they were crazy things. Well, that was originally satin beige. It was.
You've got a thing
quite a rare color, I believe. So, but of course, I was only about 18, 19. So. I wanted it yellow.
You've got a thing for yellow, haven't you?
Well, at the time, they'd just done the A610.
Right.
And I loved the colour of it. For me, the yellow shows the lines off better in certain cars. Not all cars. You wouldn't have a Fiat Cinquecento in 11, but then you wouldn't have a Fiat Cinquecento, would you? But in yellow, I think some of them show off the lines better, so...
They do. In fact, I've got another little picture here of it, so we can throw that one up as well. It's a gorgeous looking thing. I absolutely love it. How long did you own that one for?
We've still got that.
You still got it? Have you really?
We've still got it, yeah. I was going to part exit, and my dad said, absolutely not, you can't let that go. So he bought it off me for dad's rates. And... It's still in the family, yeah. So that's next on the list. I've got an old 944 I'm doing, and then once that's finished, we'll crack on with that.
Well,
and do that car conversion you did.
Yes. Well, that is a car that we would love to see at the NEC. So that's a car that I know Andrea, my lovely Andrea, my working wife, she would love to see that at the NEC. That's one of those cars. We have a little sections called Star Cars, and that is one we're going to put in Star Cars. So I'll line.
Yeah, when it's done, defo. Oh, that'd be a great drive down in that. Yeah.
You know what that means? That means you get to hang out backstage with me, come up on stage. It means we have to go out and have curry in the evening, a few beers.
Shucks.
Oh,
sounds awful.
What happened? Do you remember what happened the last curry night? Should we tell people what happened the last curry night? It was actually.
Is this going to involve the napkins?
It will involve some napkins. It was actually Andrea's company's birthday, and she took us all out for dinner, which was lovely of her because she's an amazing bloody woman. I love her to bits. And Andrea took us all out for dinner, and we sat downstairs. I think it's fair to say both me, you, Drew, Pritchard, Paul Cowland, and a few others may have had one or two kind of fruity drinks.
We had maybe a couple of shandies, Mike.
That was all.
Yeah.
Michelle says she's got the video.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, the video that we don't want to people. The one where you stood up on the chair.
I have a video.
Do you remember what happened?
I tell you what, you were just lucky I was clothed.
Do you remember what happened when you stood up on the? No, don't play the video now. So we ended up for the audience out there, because we're talking like you know what we're talking about. We ended up having this amazing dinner. We had a few drinks, and the drinks then turned into a little bit of fun, and we started to play napkin tricks. And both me and Simon have got this ability to fold napkins into things like chickens and other objects, and then it just all sort of went mad from there. And we had a fantastic evening, if I remember.
It was a great evening.
So you're gonna have to do that all over again once you bring that car down.
You betcha.
You betcha. Yeah, it'd be fantastic. Right. So now let's move on, because you told me this story the other day, because you were a young lad when you bought that one. So you told me this story the other day where you were sat watching Magnum PI, and you went, Magnum PI, I'm on the TV. I'm a soap star. I've got a few quid riding in the old skyrocket. I'll tell you what I'm going to go and do. I'm going to go and buy myself a Ferrari. So you went and bought
the old 328 GTS.
Nice car. Awful to drive. Horrible things. But
yeah, it was a pain to drive. It was it was gorgeous though. It was I bought that in Kent, and it had come from Guernsey. It was on a Guernsey plate for a while, but it was an original E-Reg, and it had only done out the box 17,000 miles. And of course, on Guernsey, it only ever done 40 miles an hour, which actually didn't serve it well, to be fair. So a friend of mine worked at Ferrari, and I brought it down, and he just went through it, replaced everything with original parts. It had some bogus parts on. So it was all Ferrari bits, and I did another few things to it, and I owned it for a year, loved it. But if I drove it more than half an hour, the whole left-hand side of my body went dead. So I chipped it in and got myself a Jag.
Now we need to tell the lovely audience out there, because there's a lot of car people out there, why that is. Because I bought and sold 328s and 208s and 308s, and there's a reason why the left-hand side of your body just goes numb when you're driving one. They look beautiful, but when you're platinum, if you're a car designer, you want your steering wheel here. You want your seat right in the middle of the steering wheel, and you want your pedal box right in front of the steering wheel, right in the center. Well, unfortunately, the seat is off to one side, the steering wheel is off to another, and your pedal box is off to the other. So you're twisted whilst you're driving a car. Plus, the steering wheel hasn't got tilt on it, and it's in a fixed position, which is the position of a milk float.
Yeah, it was a little bit mad. But the one thing I loved was that gear shift in that open gate. Love that click. Love that.
Oh, just to die for. But, beautiful to look at. Great to listen to. That H gate is to die for. But hideous to drive. Absolutely hideous to drive. So you had the car for a little while. Good that it had only done 17,000 miles. Never been over 40 miles an hour. But you're right. And it's nice to educate people. Cars like that, they are designed to go fast from the off, and they want to be used like that. And if they're not, they start to, lock up, and they don't get the right exercise.
Yeah, it wasn't running right. It wasn't happening.
So when you chop that in, did you chop it in with reluctance, or was you happy to see the back of it?
I was happy to see the back of it from a practical point of view. My heart was extremely upset. My eyes were even more upset when it rolled away. But what replaced it was just the most beautiful thing. I still think it's one of the most beautiful cars ever made.
Are we talking about this?
Yeah. Every single photo and even this video is just me surrounded by crap, isn't it? It's just everything's got bits of crap everywhere. Like I live in Steptoe's yard.
I love it. I absolutely, and I'm sure I know the audience love it as well. You're just a regular guy who loves cars, who lives a regular life. Let's ignore the fact that you've got half of Alan Titchmarsh's fence that you've ripped down. Oh no, that's actually a garden shed. it is a garden shed that you've got propped up against your hedge. Let's ignore that and let's talk about that. I went on a car launch of that in South Africa. What an amazing car.
Oh, sublime. It had, that was the premium, so it had those 20-inch Chapangs on. In fact, I've still got one of those wheels in the garage, fully enough.
Who wants a 20-inch bang tonight?
Yeah, if you want one, I've got it. Nice little split rim for you. Yeah, and the interior was the black Recaro, black piano wood. It had all the alloy, all the chrome finish on everything else. It was. I drove it to Le Mans a couple of times. We drove it to Monaco and back. Me and my dad to watch the Grand Prix. It was just like driving your front room. You know, it was so comfortable and so much power as well.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, lovely. I remember, the first time I drove that car, designed by a friend of mine called Ian Callum. He was very
the DB7 guy, wasn't he?
DB7.
The DB9.
Yeah, in fact, let's pull it up on the screen again because this is rather interesting. One of them, if you look at that and then you look at the Aston Martin DB7, DB9, or any late Jaguar, he done them all basically. If you look at that car, before that car, he designed the Ford Puma. And you can see, and he always says, you can see Ford Puma in everything I drew after. And you can see the history of his design or his design language because there's a bit of Ford Puma in that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. What, round the front and the rear?
Round the front, definitely round the rear haunches.
Yeah.
And the rear glass, that rear window, that curve on that rear glass. That's very much, and he's very proud of that in every car he designed. Ian.
Oh, it's just stunning. It was like a modern E-Type. It was just glorious. Like with every car I've owned, I've spent a fortune buying them and let them go for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's car ownership, isn't it? Or
unfortunately,
cars have got better today. Classic cars, they've gone up in value. You've had some weird cars on the street as well. You had a Datsun once, didn't you? A kit car. Speak as you mind. I mean, seriously.
It was awful. I mean, I've seen other Duttons. I used to be a fan of kit cars for a while. We were going to build an Ultima GTR. Went for a test drive of one of them. Wow, that was quick. But the Dutton that they gave me on that show, it was awful. It had a Ford Crossflow, which obviously are just amazing lump.
Yeah.
But that was the only decent thing on it. But I remember they wanted me to turn it round because they wanted it facing the other way. So I just donutted it on the street. Did not go down well with the floor manager.
I bet you it didn't. What about when you was in the? Because a lot of people asked this earlier. When you was at the taxi fleet in the street, that must have been right up your street. Because if you pardon the pun, because there you are getting to play with cars all the time.
Well, this was it, yeah. Because I remember one scene. A very good friend of mine, a guy called Etch, works on the boom. He's retired now. Massive car, more of a motorbike guy, but big car nut. He said, "You've got to bring this car around the top of the street and then park it outside the courts and run in." I think it was a Mondeo actually, and. But the streets are closed off, it's not open to the public or anything like that. He says, "I want you to bring it round in a full drift and then bring it up and park it." Now, this is the sound guy. We haven't told the director. So, yeah, it was drifting. And he went, "Go, stop it." So, yeah, I just used to rip the pants out of those out of those taxis. We've got to be a bit more careful now for health and safety.
Of course, yeah. Talking about being a bit more careful, I've noticed that you've started filming again on the street. You have to do it at a distance.
Yeah, there's only 3 to 4 characters allowed on each set. If we all have to be 2 meters apart. There's actually a guy called Ed, great guy with a big 2 meter long stick. He's measuring, pushing people, and so it's a skeleton crew. Even things like if design come in to move something or lights to adjust. They have to go out, then they have to disinfect, then we're allowed back in. So it's a bit of a long process, but we're getting it done.
And what's the guy's name with the stick? Did you say his name's Dick?
Only after work.
Because I bet he's absolutely loving that. No, stand there, Simon, prodding the actors around.
Well, he's a keen fisherman, so we keep tying string to it and everything.
What's the? I do want to get back to the cars, but I know a lot of ladies out there have tuned in because they're asking questions. What's it like on the street in terms of when we make the set of wheeler dealers is very much a family. We can fart in each other's faces, which happens all the time. We can drop oil in each other's tea. We laugh to the point of tears every day. Everyone just gets on with each other. What's it like after 31 years? What's it like on the set of Coronation Street?
It's exactly the same. Exactly Brilliant. The same. I mean, people always said working on Corrie is like one big family, but it really was, because if your dad worked there, I'm going like for the crew, production and everything. If your dad worked there, your mum worked there, you worked there. So, there's family lines running through it. But of course, it's filmed right in the middle of Manchester. It's now in Salford. Very down to earth people, very down to earth place, and you just can't get above your station in that place anyway, because it's just one big lot. I remember I think it was Stephanie Beecham had come over from America. She had a small part.
Actress. Yeah, huge actress.
Yeah. And she was gobsmacked because I think I'd thrown something at one of the boom guys, and I'd thrown something else at one of the prop lads. And there was a huge pretend fight behind the bar of the Rovers where I was getting my head kicked in. And she was just like that. But that's like a daily occurrence, We just have the crack every day,
Well, I know that's made a lot of people out there very happy to know that. I remember me and Jason Plato, we used to sometimes when we'd drive to work, I'd stay at Jason's house and we'd drive in two cars, and we'd often get to a set of traffic lights. He'd look at me in the rearview mirror, I'd look at him, and then we would both get out the cars and have a fight on the grass verge, rolling around. People are getting out their cars trying to break us up, and we're just having a laugh. We're just holding up the traffic.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't possibly even go into some of the things that I'm called as a driving to work by other lads, but it's a lot of fun.
I bet you it's a lot of fun. Right, so let's go back to cars. You see me flash up there on screen, another yellow car of yours. This is a current car that you're driving, isn't it?
Yeah, the Mustang. Yeah, I'd gone into, I still had the XKR actually, and I'd gone in to get some tyre valves for it, and came home with that. And
sorry, that again.
I'd tyre valves for. Oh, I'm gone.
Oh no, you're back in. Sorry about that. Right. Here we go.
I still had the XKR at the time, so I'd gone in to get tyre valves for it. There was that thing sat on the forecourt. I said, "Giz ago." So I flew up and down the bypass, and I came home with it instead of the tyre valves. So it's a bit of a midlife crisis. That.
What did Emma say?
She said, "How many seats has it got? We've got 3 kids." I went, "It's got 4." She went, "Well, why have you got us that?" I said, "I haven't got us that. I've got me that. And that's my toy."
No, actually, I can throw it up on screen. You got you that, and you got the family that.
Has it come up? Where's that? The van?
It's the van.
Emma was what, the Caravelle. So we went and got a Caravelle. Yeah, that thing's done nearly 200,000 miles. It's never missed a beat.
Yeah, they drive on forever, don't they? Great vehicle.
Amazing thing.
Fantastic vehicle. See, you and Paul Cowlan, are the only 2 friends of mine I know that have got a later generation Mustang. Where I live in California, the streets are just crowded with them. But they are, a lot of people don't realize that they're UK spec, right-hand drive. They drive absolutely perfectly in the UK. They're brilliant for these roads.
They're absolutely phenomenal. I mean, the amount of kit you get for your money, because I mean, they're not like Fiat Fiesta money, but compared to other cars with similar power and similar tech and everything, they're amazing value for money. And I was chatting to a guy actually, getting a new garage door, and he goes to the Nürburgring all the time, and he said, I've seen those go around there, and he says, I tell you what, they handle really well as well. So it's a lot of car for your money, and they just look and sound amazing.
I had a go in one that was breathed on by Roush and Super Performance out in the USA on a track, and it tore my face off and put my kidneys, somewhere behind me. It was I
mean, I think you can pull about 1,000 horsepower out of these things, like the big S550s and the Super Snakes and stuff are crazy.
Yeah.
But there's just enough power for a petrolhead in this country for one of those, and they're just so much fun. I mean, for me, it's like a modern Capri or a modern Sierra 4x4 or something. I don't know. It's nice.
Exactly. Is that a stick or an auto?
It's auto.
That's an auto.
Because I drive it to work, I didn't want to be going up and down the box all the time. So, but the auto's great. You put it in sports and it blips the throttle on the down change and everything. So it's a great box actually.
If it's a stick in America, the Americans call it the anti-theft device. They just simply don't know what it is. They stare at it and go, "What's that?" It's the anti-theft device. No, nobody can use the bloody thing. So you've got the Mustang. Have you still got the Jag, or is that gone now?
The Jag went. Yeah, swapped the Jag for the Range Rover.
Oh, right, for the Range Rover. We haven't got to the Range Rover yet, but and then you've got the family Caravelle. So where have you been in that? Have you been all over the place in it?
Yeah, we've got a place in Wales, like a caravan.
Yeah.
So we, the kids love it there. So we got that to take the kids down to Wales. Yeah.
See, I love
that. So they love it.
I love that because people are going, sorry, what did he say? He's got a caravan. What? He hasn't got a mansion in Mallorca. He hasn't got a place in Ibiza. No, you got a caravan in Wales.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, when I was a kid, and it's probably the same for everybody else, the holidays I remember when I was a kid were in this country.
Brilliant.
And we went to Wales religiously and Salcombe in Devon, which is just heaven. And those are the ones I remember. I don't really remember the abroad ones. And the kids love it there, because they can play out on the road we used to, you know.
You could just be a child again, go and eat worms and come home covered in mud. And they are, I drove one of them down to the south of France, and they are absolutely bloody brilliant on a long journey there. Very comfortable.
Oh, they're great. Surprisingly quick as well.
Yeah, very quick. It's nice that when you pull over into a services to go and get fuel, you can actually stop for an hour, make yourself a cup of tea in the back, have a cheese roll, and then carry on. They're brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. So that leads us on to your Range Rover. So we've had quite a few cars already. There's lots more that we haven't spoken about because there's too many. But that leads us on to Range Rovers. So tell us about your Range Rovers, because you've had quite a few, haven't you?
Yeah. I had a P38. I had not the Range, but I had the Disco 3, which I loved. And I'd taken what was I doing there? Oh, no, I'll tell you what I'd done. I'd bought the Caravelle. Yeah. And it needed some work. So they gave me a Range Rover Sport, but it had the TDB8 in it. And I thought, oh, I like this lump. And when I took it back, I'd noticed that in the back of the garage. And I went, I've got to have a look at that. And that's the Black Series. So I think that was the run-out model before the new shape, because it's got all the digital dash in it and the new interior.
Lovely.
And I said, give it a go. And I just thought it was lovely. So I said, do you want an XKR? He said, yeah. I said, right, there you go. Gives the range in. That was that.
Job's good. Job's a good one. Yeah, there's a little bit of advice there for people, which is it's always worth noting when a manufacturer brings a new model into production, and you can see it appearing on television commercials or in the newsstand. You see it being front and center of a magazine. Before you think about that vehicle, think about the previous generation vehicle, because now the manufacturer is going to be stuffed with them. He's going to be stuffed with 1,000 of them that they haven't sold. So what they do is they overload them with every extra to push them through the dealerships and get them sold with hefty discounts. So there's a good little bit of advice that we can take from Simon there. Just be a bit patient, and you can get yourself a much better car for less money if you wait for the new generation of that car to come out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I prefer that shape as well. To be fair,
I do. I love that shape, and they're so durable, very, very durable. To go on.
Oh, I've never had a problem. I mean, that's pulling what, about 150,000 miles now, and it's. I mean, luckily I've got like an aunt, guy called Al, who's like my best mate as a mechanic, so he does all my things for me. But it's never really needed anything really. It's a couple of seals here and there, and that's it.
Fantastic. Yeah, really good vehicles, aren't they? They tow 3.5 tons as well, which is absolutely brilliant because they're a great towing vehicle. And the fact that you can just drop that little tailgate down on the rear and sit and have a picnic off the back of it. And for you, obviously, you got 3 kids as well.
It's perfect, yeah. And it's so comfortable, so comfortable. It's just effortless as well. It just wafts down the road. You know, it's like an armchair when you're sitting there. You know, it's just driving the thing. Beautiful.
Now, talking about 3 kids, you've just been through coronavirus. You've had it. Your family's suffered with it. And then all of a sudden, once you're back home and you're sort of fit and healthy again, you've had to turn yourself into a school teacher and be a dad. What's that been like?
Well, it's not been too bad because our kids are completely feral. So all we've got to do is just give them a tree and they're away. In fact, our youngest, Henry, has only just stopped doing his ablutions in the garden. Every time we let the dogs out, Henry thought that's what he had to do. So he'd go and have a wee and whatever in the garden, but he'd also lick puddles, you know, drink from puddles with the dogs as well. I don't think he'll ever have a virus in his life. I think all the antibodies in his body are bang on now. But yeah, the kids just come rain or shine, we just push them outside and they run across the field or something like that, and it's, you know, it's perfect. But homeschooling, I don't know. Do you really need school now with Siri? You know, if you want to know when Henry VIII died, just ask your phone. I don't know whether you really need it anymore, do you?
Fair point. Fair point. Somebody did say the other day, this is a good time to rethink the education system. And I don't make them wrong. I don't want to get into politics, but I don't make them wrong. You know, it's a time for a rethink. School is, as I kept telling my daughter, Chloe, and no doubt you'll tell yours, school is basically a memory test. That's what it is. You just got to somehow...
Absolutely, yeah. And it's, you know, a place to realise that not everyone's as nice as you. Give you a little bit of an idea about the big world.
It certainly does. It certainly does. Lots of people who invented the skip. That's a terrible question. Lots of people saying, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about behind you, the building renovations?
Oh, right. Well, it's a bit of bone of contention then. We started work at the end of August last year, and we were supposed to be in our home. It's where we've always lived. We just, you know, did it a bit nicer than it was. But because of the virus and because of other circumstances, it's still ongoing. So we've basically been living like squatters for about 11 months now.
Have you really?
So yeah. So there's like, I think we did 5 months in my mother-in-law's loft, which is 1 room, and now we're kind of in 2 rooms at the back of the house. There used to be the pub that I built here called the G Spot, because not a lot of people know where it is.
Have you kept the pub, or has that now been plastered over?
The bar of the pub is now the kitchen worktop, because for 5 months we've been living out of an oven with the size of a microwave. So that and 3 kids and somebody my size hasn't been great. Here's Rover.
Hello, Rover. Oh, perfect name for a dog. Yeah, my little dog's called Shelby.
Perfect.
Great, isn't it? We're so alike, it's unbelievable. Please tell me then that on the picture of the Jag earlier, that shed that's propped up against the hedge, that's going to become the G Spot.
Oh no, the G-Spot's a bit bigger than that. The G-Spot was an old barn. Wow. So yeah, there will be a new G-Spot coming. A new G-Spot coming. We could go a bit further. Yeah, there's going to be. Hopefully, by the end of the summer, we'll have some fun. I'll give you an invite.
Most definitely. Me and Michelle will be there. Just hope you get it finished in time. So before we wrap up, what's next for you? Are you straight back to work now, full on it, sitting in your Range Rover, backwards and forwards to work? Is that you done now?
Yeah. I was back to work on Monday. I'm back in tomorrow. And then, we just got to wrap up this storyline because Corrie's pretty much on the verge, or was on the verge of running out of episodes. So we're kind of making them and pushing them straight out now. And yeah, we've got a lot of catching up to do.
There's actually a good question here before you go. And it was one that I just pulled out. Let me get it. It keeps popping up the screen. There you go. This is from Andrew Thompson. Who's the biggest car poser on Corrie? So is the car park a bit like Manchester United's training ground? You know, the people turn up in their individual. You just
not at all, really. No, there's only about 4 of us that are massive into our 5 that are massive into our cars. One of the people that's biggest into her cars is the lady that's playing. I've forgotten a flipping screen name now. The one that's getting beaten up by her husband.
Oh right, yeah. I know.
She's mad on classic Porsches and classic Mercedes. Yeah. Then I'm probably the biggest poser, apart from a chap called Alan Halsall, who plays Tyrone. He's got some very nice. I think what's in at the minute? Mercedes AMG.
Nice.
No, sorry, the AMG GT.
Yeah, nice car, lovely car. Wow.
Yeah. So he's winning in the posing brigades now. So I keep ringing a mate of mine who's got a Lambo to let me park it. But where we park our cars is right outside the front door, which we're not supposed to park there, but we don't want them scratched, you see.
Yeah.
So we put them there. But all the lads have put a sign up saying for posing, I won't say the other word, parking only.
Well, listen, after 31 years, you must be the new Bill Roach of the street now, because after 31 years, surely you should have your own designated right in front of the door. Surely the longer you get there, the closer you get to the door.
Well, this is it. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it should really be in the studio. I could just get out straight into the Rovers.
Straight in. Or park on the street.
Go home.
Just park it on the bloody street every day.
Just put it on there, yeah. Then they can pay me for having it in the background.
Well, I've absolutely loved this. It's been bloody brilliant. You've got quite a good social media profile. If people want to find you, usually you're found on Twitter, and you're quite active on Twitter. What's your Twitter name?
I think it's Simon Gregson 123.
It certainly is. So go and find Simon over on Twitter, Simon Gregson 123. He's great to have a chat to. As long as it's car related, he'll talk for hours. And thank you. I just can't thank you enough for coming on and doing this. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, well, thanks for having me, Mike. It's always a pleasure to sit down with a good chap, glass of wine, talk cars. Why not?
Well, let's fingers crossed the NEC happens later on this year in November when the world resets and we can get back together, have that curry, do some tricks with napkins and serviettes. So fingers crossed that happens. In the meantime, I want you and your family to stay safe, stay well. I know there's a lot of people out there sending their love to you. Thank you very much for joining in tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon Gregson. Thank you very much, Simon.
Thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone. Give my love to Michelle.
I will most definitely. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been an absolute pleasure having Simon on. You can catch him, obviously, most nights of the week over on ITV when you're watching Coronation Street, or you can do that omnibus catch-up at the weekend when he was much younger and had hair and he was slimmer and he was driving a Ferrari to work. In the meantime, don't forget to look after yourself. Follow me and Michelle on. Michelle's just coming to remind me on social media. Yes, Michelle's saying
I am the sponsor.
She is the sponsor because you're the only one who makes the cakes. This is the biggest unsponsored show currently out there on Facebook. Yeah, so we are looking for a sponsor if you're interested. But in the meantime, be safe, look after yourself. Thank you very much again, once more to Simon for coming on. And I will see you all next week when I'll have another fantastic guest for you.